Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, the April election features a lot of local issues, city council, school board, and for Jasper County, there's a countywide issue dealing with a sales tax proposal. That's the focus of our program today. Joining me, Darieus, Jasper County Commissioner, and Erik Theis, Court Administrator. Thank you both for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
This sales tax is something that the County Commission has explored and talked about for quite some time to get to this point, to bring it to the voters.
That's very true. March of last year, during a routine inspection of the Juvenile Justice Center, it was deemed unsafe. And so at that point, we really had to get serious about what we could do to fix that building. And after much talk and much discussions, inspections, the building just can't be saved. So we very quickly became the critical mass there that we needed to do something. And as a result of all those efforts, it's very clear that we need a new Juvenile Justice Center.
Okay, so that's one piece of what we're talking about today. And of course, as court administrator, you are directly involved in these types of operations.
Absolutely. When the fire department shut down the detention component to the facility, it drastically changed the way we did our business. Now we're having to transport juveniles as far as Camdenton when they require detention, which is a liability, obviously, when you're transporting juveniles that type of distance. In addition, when a child is transported that distance, they're not able to have communication with their family. That's impacted, as well as communication with their attorney. So it drastically it's been a big issue for us.
Okay, so commissioners face this issue. We need to deal with it. The proposal then is a sales tax proposal that you're looking at as an alternative.
That's true. It'll be 0.25%, and we'll sunset that at 7 years, or whenever the project's paid off. If monies stay as they are now, we will be able to retire that in approximately 5 years. But we felt it was prudent to go ahead and ask for a 7-year sunset, just in case, because certainly the economy is a bit unpredictable, so we wanted to make sure we had enough to fulfill the obligation.
Well, today I'd like to talk for the viewers, let's share some information about what's being proposed, and one of the questions people say, well, why not a bond issue or something versus a sales tax?
That's a very valid question. We did give that a great debate and great discussion, and to us it was a much fairer tax to use a sales tax. 69% of this tax will be paid by people that come to visit our community, and so we felt it was very fair and wouldn't be so much of a burden on our citizens of Jasper County. And quite honestly, when we visit and go different places like that, we're paying that for the other communities to allow themselves to expand and grow. So that was very important to us, and also the amount of monies collected. If we did a general obligation bond, it would have to be on real estate, personal property, those kind of things, which would just be our Jasper County residents, and we would more than double the length of time it would take to retire that debt.
So this is perhaps one of the, you looked at an efficient way of getting the money to be able to do these projects.
Certainly for less of a burden on the citizens, and also for the time factor.
Now, for someone who's sitting at home thinking, okay, 0.25%, what does that mean in terms of money for them?
Basically, on $100 that you would spend in purchases, you're going to be asked to pay another quarter, 25 cents. Okay. So it's not a huge burden at all. The figures show that for a month it would be about $2.14 per household. So we certainly think that's a very fair tax, and hopefully it won't impose any hardships on anybody.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the projects today. And actually, it's a twofold proposal. You have the detention center. You also have the courthouse as part of this. So I guess we'll start off. We've started about the detention center, so let's focus on that to begin with. Basically, the age and the condition are the main problems that can no longer function as it's working.
Yes, basically the facility that we run now, and we still do, we do run some operations in there, just not the detention component. But it's, I believe it was built in 1930. It was a house that was renovated into a doctor's office, and it's just worn out, as Darieus mentioned. It does not meet ADA requirements, and it's what we call safe circulation, which means that we are not able to move staff and juveniles in through that facility in a safe manner, and so it just doesn't meet the needs that we have. And one of the I look at this as an investment, and the investment is our youth. And one of the visions when I came on board with the county is to change the way we deal with juvenile justice. And one of those is to put them into alternative programs, because the research has shown that the further you put a juvenile into the court system, the more likelihood that they will become adult offenders as well. And so one of the things that we want to do is divert them and put them into programming that will allow them to build their competencies and also give them an education and give them some structure. So we hold them accountable, but we're just doing it in a different way. And so that being said, the facility that we're running, we're doing that now, but we don't have the space to do it. And so that's going to be another component moving forward. We do need a detention piece, and, you know, in terms of there are kids that we deal with that are a danger to themselves or to the community, and those kids need to be locked up until we can figure out what to do with them. But the vast majority of the kids that we deal with are not, and so we want to give them programming and competency development to help them be more productive citizens.
Now you have some posters with you, and I know our camera people might be able to get some of those, just showing the conditions. And I mean, starting with just the look of the building itself, it has that aged look. It's been refurbished over the years to keep it going.
And you know, this is something that the commissioners and the county has been dealing with and talking about for a long time. And we've patched it together and tried to move forward. But it just, now we're at the point where we can't anymore. And so, you know, in terms of what the needs are, and when I talked about the alternative programs and diverting kids from the system as much as possible, in an average month, we divert or have kids in programs around 341 juveniles at any given time. And we have 40 to 60 kids in the building at one point in time. And so just, we don't have the space. Again, we don't have the safety circulation, as I mentioned, and we just need a better facility to be able to move our vision forward, which in the long run is going to be a cost benefit to the county, because we're going to do things that have statistically proven will reduce recidivism and reduce juvenile crime, and obviously that would be a positive impact for the community.
What about the costs involved with having to operate as you're the youngsters can't stay here, they have to go somewhere else? The cost for transportation, housing, and so forth?
We are currently housing them in Greene County, and we've had to go as far as Camden County. And Eric can probably speak more to the dollar side, but certainly just the logistics. You get a call at midnight and you have to call somebody in, and they have to go pick up the offender and get them to the facility and get them back home. It's certainly a strain on the way we do business.
And you know, and to Darieus's point, on the weekend we would get a child that was that we had to place in custody, and now we have to drive them to Springfield. Well, by law, we have to bring them back to Jasper County for a hearing. So my folks have to go pick them up, take them back to court, and take them back to Springfield, and then come back to Joplin. We had a situation several months ago where Greene County's facility couldn't take any more kids because they were having some facility issues, and so we had to go to Camdenton. So, you know, that's about a 2-hour drive one way, and so that became a real nightmare in terms of, you know, time on the road, which always concerns me when you have a child in a vehicle that long of a period of time. And as Darieus mentioned, the cost of that. I mean, we're talking $75 on an average a day, and that's not including the transportation costs and overtime costs.
Now, Jasper County, you have the facility we're talking about is in Joplin. For some of our viewers, we have a unique situation. You have a courthouse in Carthage. You also have a facility in Joplin. And
that's true. We're one of the few states or counties in the state that has 2 courthouses, but we certainly do. And as you just mentioned, the other piece of this is to renovate and modernize and historic preservation on our Carthage courthouse. It's certainly a treasure. And we've been wrestling with how can we accomplish a major renovation like that to preserve our buildings, and we just couldn't make it happen. So as a result of this, then we felt it was a great time to go ahead and ask the voters to allow us to modernize and do the things that we needed to do in the Carthage courthouse. Oddly enough, we don't even have hot water in all the facility there. I mean, so just some of the basics we're going to address with this. Our heat and air is at least 50 years old, probably realistically more like 7 years. We're still in the boiler system with the single tube system. So we're going to put geothermal heat and air in the Carthage courthouse. We'll go ahead and address some of the plumbing and electrical issues that we have there. And on the outside of the building, we're certainly starting to see some deterioration on the masonry. So we want to do some masonry restoration, tuck pointing, different things there. So certainly we look forward to being able to do that. From the monetary side of that, that's just under a $3 million project to do that. And then on our Juvenile Justice Center in Joplin, it's just under $11 million.
So putting the two together now with Carthage, basically a challenge of having an older building and preserving it because of its historical significance. We have some pictures, I think, over my shoulder. If I don't know if the cameras can see those, but you're talking about some of these conditions, and even room air conditioner is something you don't think about these days.
That's very true. I mean, there's no central heat and air whatsoever. The third floor courthouse does have some semblance of central heat and air, but all the other three are just our window units, so it's pretty dated.
Yeah, right. It's going to get uncomfortable in the summertime on a hot day in many places.
Yeah.
But the outside as well, the structure itself. Everybody talks about the Carthage marble, the structure, in this area, that the historic significance of preserving those.
It is very significant, and the people of Jasper County have been very, very passionate about the courthouse. And when we do have trouble, they've always been great to step up and see the need and do what needs to be done. And so certainly we're going to ask them to help us on this, and it's definitely worth saving. And when you go and visit different counties in our state, we are clearly, if not the best, one of the best.
And one of the things I wanted to add, the architect that came down that works in historic buildings and that type of thing, what struck me was that he said not only is this one of the best historical, beautiful courthouses in the state, but he said it's also one of in the nation. And so I think that's important to note, that this is a treasure that needs to be taken care of.
Now, you mentioned geothermal heating and cooling. We really, I guess it's not modern anymore. It's been used for a while, but it's a different approach to being able to take care of facilities.
That's true. We explored a lot of options, conventional and different things, and at the end of the day, it clearly made sense to go ahead and invest the money and to do this. And over time, it certainly will be a great cost savings and benefits to the county. So certainly money had a lot to do with it. Ease of operation, just the overall general structure of how we're going to go about accomplishing this. It was less intrusive to the courthouse and different things. So certainly after much discussion and talk that this was the right way to go.
So really it's kind of the support facility in the courthouse, not necessarily remodeling a lot of rooms, it's making the structure itself structurally sound.
Very true. That's very, and I'm glad you brought that up. There really will, it's not going to address any kind of space issues, remodeling, anything like that. It's totally going to be preservation, and then some of the basics, just the heat and air issues. So that is a very valid point, and thanks for bringing that up.
Being able to tie that together. So the cost of the two projects put together approximately?
Just around $15 million. And with this quarter-cent sales tax, as it is now, that'll generate about $4 million a year. So certainly, if things stay as they are now, we'll be able to move forward and retire that early. So we feel very good that this is the right way to go about it.
Right. So do you feel it's beneficial to have both projects together, that at this time, with I guess there's low interest rates for getting them loans to be able to do things, and financing projects? Very
true. They anticipate that the loan here will be about a 2.25% loan, so the interest rate there is very, very attractive. And so certainly we felt it was time to go ahead and ask for both pieces of this, and we felt very good that the voters would understand that we're really only asking for what we need. And so certainly we're at critical mass on the Juvenile Justice Center, and we would like to go ahead and address our concerns in the Carthage Courthouse.
So process of the actual construction, the tax passes in April. How do you proceed from there? Do you have a timetable, a plan of what people would see happening?
We sure do. Actually, the Carthage portion of this would be able to go ahead and be let at the end of this year. So certainly we would anticipate some action probably November, maybe as early as September. So it's basically ready to go. We've had architects on site, we've had engineers on site. So we have a pretty solid plan of how we would go about that. On the Juvenile Justice Center, it would probably be more towards the end of 16 before we could get everything together, and probably actually let that project the early part of 17.
Now, does that involve removing the current structure? Help people visualize what's going to happen. I mean, you tear down the existing house, so what are you going to be doing?
That's the plan, and if I may, I'll show you what the new facility will look like. Yes, essentially it would be in the same location. This is Pearl Avenue.
Right.
This is 6th Street. This is approximately where the current facility is located. So we would have some land acquisition. So we have some more room. So the current facility would be torn down,
right,
and then we would build it right there at the location.
So you're starting from scratch on that same piece of land.
Correct.
The county actually owns the property that we'll need there. We have been able to make that happen, so we're certainly good there. But as Erik said, we're going to ask a piece of this will allow us to purchase some more property to the south. We would anticipate moving our facilities over to the old First Baptist Church, and we would operate out of there until our new facility was complete, and then we would transition back into the new facility.
Well, that was my next question. What do you do with the programs you were talking about when the building's torn down?
Right, that and Darieus is exactly right. We would move our operations into that the old church. Right now, we're located in 4 areas. The juvenile office, because of space issues, we have 4 places where we have our offices, and so from a logistical standpoint, that's kind of been a challenge as well. So once we get, if the voters were to approve this, then we would move into the church there while that was
So when you are complete, will this put all juvenile operations within that facility then for you?
It would. And one of the things, and I kind of want to show you a little bit, just so the voters can understand what we're wanting to do. This is obviously the whole structure, but I want everyone to notice the detention component is the detention component, which is a very small piece of the whole facility. The majority of the facility is going to be for classrooms. One of the things the voters may not understand is that if a student is suspended from school, the school loses funding because they don't have a student in a seat. With this option, and what we're doing now, as a matter of fact, but we want to expand it, is there would be moved to this alternative classroom, so the schools will continue to get their funding, and the child will get their education.
So you work closely with the school districts to provide that continued education.
We absolutely do. And also the kids aren't roaming the streets, during school. And so there's classrooms in our programming area. The gray area is where our offices will be located. We also decided that the judiciary and the county and the stakeholders decided to put a courtroom inside the facility, and that way, prior to our detention facility being shut down, kids were having to go from 6th and Pearl to the courthouse. They were having to go across the street and that's a safety issue as well as a confidentiality issue. I mean, certainly if one of my kids were to get in trouble,
people would
heaven
stand on the street
forbid,
and see who's walking across the street.
they wouldn't see my kid walking down the street, in handcuffs. And so we made this an all-inclusive facility, so everything that can be done in one facility. And so we have our intake area here, and we have outdoor recreation that's in a courtyard, and that's something that's required by the state, that juveniles must have what they call green space. But the design here is that kids would not be able to, or people would not be able to look in.
So they are inside the building, basically.
They're inside the building, but they're outside.
Right. So protecting the confidentiality of the juveniles under the system is a key factor, as well as the security for them in that facility.
Correct.
And so, is security one of the concerns that community might have, or is this going to be a secure building? People coming and going.
Absolutely, and Trainer Architects, who has been awarded at least doing the project development, are very well known throughout the nation regarding their juvenile justice work and courthouse work. So they're experts in that area.
Now, will this be a one floor facility then? One story?
Correct.
Right. So tying that together. So people who are interested, want to see the exact layout. You have these designs, these pictures available for them to see.
Absolutely.
And understand how that's going to go. A lot of time has already gone into that as far as getting ideas and working together with architects.
And it's been a very we've worked, and the commission has been very good about working working with us and understanding the process. And it's been about a year, Darieus, that I think that we've been working on this.
We've held stakeholder meetings 3 or 4 times now, maybe more, and try to get interested and affected people involved and ask questions and kind of give us some direction about the way they see things going, and then as well with what our experts have told us to bring all this kind of to fruition to where it is now. So certainly there's been a lot of planning put into this, and we feel that we've got a very nice structure that'll last us for a long, long time.
So you're building not only for now, but for the future growth as well, if you have
absolutely,
that need.
and Erik can speak to this, but the way that we do business with our juvenile justice now has just changed immensely over the years, from the days back not so long ago when it was, you put the kid in jail and they were bad kids.
They were locked up because
exactly.
they were bad.
And now that's not the case. In fact, that's absolutely the last resort is to do something like that. So.
And I'm glad that Darieus brought that up. Back, and I can give you some numbers because I'm kind of a numbers guy. Being an administrator, I like to do what works, and so back in 2000, let me back up. Every year we get around 1,500 referrals, and a referral is from the school, from parents, or from law enforcement. That's typically where we get a referral from. And out of the 1,500 that we received in 2013, 32% of all the referrals that we received were adjudicated, which means that the child was made a ward of the court. Okay, which again, what I talked about earlier was that's putting them deep into the system. This last year, 2015, that was 9%. So we dramatically are diverting. Now we're still holding the kids accountable. We still have jurisdiction over them, but we're placing them in alternative programs rather than placing them as a ward of the court. By the same token, in 2013, we have the state has what's called the Division of Youth Services, and that's basically child prison, for lack of a better word. It's where kids go, where the judge can send them,
they're sentenced
and
for.
Where they're sentenced for, right. In 2013, we had 69 committals just out of Jasper County to the Division of Youth Services. 2015, we had 13, which is an 87% decrease. What that means to the taxpayers is that for every one child that goes to DYS, that's $40,000 a year in tax dollars spent. In these diversionary programs, it's around between $300 to $500 a year to run them through those programs. And so the cost savings and the benefit of giving these kids the tools that they need to be successful is what we're looking for moving forward.
Right. As society has changed, that whole approach to the justice system has changed
we
as
want
well.
to do
Adapting.
we want to do what works.
So the project's planned. People want to find out more information. We're doing shows like this. Will you be visiting civic groups? Someone may have tuned in late and said, "Well, how do I find out more about this?"
Well, we're always willing to come. If anybody would like us to come, please get a hold of either one of us, and we're certainly willing to do that. We will have it up on our a link on our website from YouTube after this show, and we appreciate that. And certainly any other groups or any other people that would like to be involved, give us a call, and we'll be glad to have the help. Conversely, we'll come out to you too, so we'll go any place they want us, because we certainly want to get the facts out and let everybody know.
And of course, Jasper County has a website. You have the information available there.
We do.
Somebody who's watching, we have to remind the election's April 5th, which
Correct.
is a Tuesday, so it's the same time they'll be voting on maybe their city council or their school board and so forth, same election. The ballot itself, will it have a specific wording on the proposal they need to be aware of?
It absolutely is, and there's a sample ballot here, and we'll have it up on the website too, and we'll make that available. But it's just a yes or no project, and so certainly it'll be there, and very easy to follow, and it's just very straightforward, asking for a 7-year quarter-cent sales tax.
And simple majority, what does it take to pass
It
this?
is. It's just a simple majority. That's true.
So following through, we were seeing your website we help people recognize the cover for the website, and this is something they'll see the updates that we're talking about. What if they want to call you as a commissioner and have questions?
Absolutely, 417-358-0421, and we'll certainly get back to them, or they can email any concerns they would have, and that's dadams@ecarthage.com, and we'll certainly get back to them.
So you're encouraging citizens to ask questions to get that
Absolutely,
input and
because certainly I think and would hope that once they see this and see the plight, that certainly it's something that we need to address.
Well, a lot of challenges facing government at all levels. Coming to people and asking for financial support is a big step in many cases.
That's very true, and you know, it's hard to ask. I mean, quite honestly, it is. But when at the end of the day, when you look at what we're asking for and what we're going to do with the money, we certainly are going to be very prudent with the monies, and it's certainly going to address what needs to be addressed, and we'll all be better for it. And certainly we feel very strongly that that's something that we need to address, and this is the right way to do it.
So when you're finished with these projects, you'll have a facility that will help you into the next 50 years or whatever we need down the road.
Absolutely, and I really do strongly believe that the citizens of Jasper County will see it as a good investment.
And the courthouse itself then will be in good shape for another 50
that'll address, yeah, very true, very true. We look at that in the numbers that they've told us. It's a 30 to 50 year project here, and certainly that's long past anything.
Right, and there will be seeing that.
Exactly, but certainly when you put that in perspective, it's money well spent.
Well, for a lot of people, you know they live in a county, but they don't necessarily interact with the county government except maybe when they go get the voter ID or they go to pay their taxes and so forth. So,
Here again, Erik's very good with numbers, and I don't know our exact population of people through the courthouse, but it's a very significant number.
Yes, I've been tracking that for the last year, and just in the Joplin facility alone, on an average of 9,000 people come through there every month to do their business or go to court and that type of thing. So it's a very active building.
And of course, obviously in Carthage, you're very active with the main
I would think those
well.
numbers are probably very close to the Carthage courthouse.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us today and sharing this information. As we said, you'll have some more information available. I know this is before we leave. Also, you've had the 175th anniversary of the county. I want to slip that in there for you.
Of course. That was a great celebration. It was well attended. It's pretty amazing when you think about where we were to where we are now and what has all happened. But it was very well received. We had great participation from all the kids in Carthage, as far as the grade schools and junior highs doing posters and kind of essays and different things. And we actually finally finished the monument there. We actually narrowed down the date, which had been some concern about what exactly what it was, and so we're able to do that. So it was a great day.
Right. So 175 years and growing.
Absolutely.
So once again, for viewers who have questions, we've had the website up, we have information, but reminding them it's April 5th, a Tuesday, the election. The voter registration deadline's creeping up quickly.
It is. I should be able to tell you that, and apologize I don't, but they do need to register, and as you said, that window is closing.
March 9th, so basically as we're recording this program, it's going to be going quickly.
Thank you.
But absentee ballots, just like anything else, if they aren't going to be home.
You can absentee vote on this,
absolutely. Vote that as well. So, hey, well, Darieus, I'd like to thank you very much, and same for you, Erik. Thank you for sharing some information with our audience. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers as we find out about the proposal for Jasper County voters. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on the station. We'll see you then.